Here we're going to determine the price, quantity, and total variance for direct materials. As you can see, I have it set up here because the way we're going to do it is actual, standard, standard, standard. Okay, so my actual quantity times my actual price, which is what I actually paid. That's what I really paid for this. And then I'm going to take the actual quantity that I used and multiply it by the standard price. That tells me how much that material should have cost. We will then compare that to what we actually paid to determine our variance. Is it favorable or unfavorable? And then we'll do the same thing here for materials, because then we're going to look at the actual quantity versus the standard quantity and see what our quantity variance is. So the first thing I'm going to do is defluff this, okay? So I'm going to have my standard. So my standard is 2 pounds, and it costs me 10 bucks. I'm sorry, $5. $5 per pound. Now my actual, I actually used 3,200 pounds, and it actually cost me $16,192. And I actually made 1,500 units. So now we're going to use this information here and plug it in here. So actual quantity times actual price. I don't have to do that because they do give me my actually that's what this is right here, the 16,192. So the 16 So the 16,192 is my actual quantity times my actual price. And then we're going to have to calculate our actual standard. So my actual quantity was 3,200 pounds. So now I'm going to take that 3,200 pounds times my standard price, which is $5 per pound. So that leaves me with 3,200 times 5, so 16,000. Okay, so that 16,000 is what I thought it was going to cost me. Now I can calculate my price variance. And the way I'm going to do that is, so this is what I actually paid. This is what I thought I should have paid. Okay, remember my example, I believe, from last chapter when I said a favorable or unfavorable variance. You go down to the store to buy a bag of chips that's normally $5. Well, if you get down there and it's $7, well, that's an unfavorable variance because you paid more than you thought you were going to. On the other hand, if you got down there and it was $3, that would be a favorable variance because you actually paid less than you thought. So here, I paid more than I thought. Therefore, my variance is going to be the difference between them. And I'm going to say that is an unfavorable variance because I paid more than I anticipated. Okay? Now with the standard quantity times the standard price, we have to do an extra step here because here we have to figure out what our standard quantity is. My standard quantity should have been 2 pounds per unit times the 1,500 units we actually made. times the 1,500 units we actually made, and then we're going to multiply that by our standard price of $5. So basically we have 3,000 pounds that we should have used times my $5. So that's going to tell me 15,000 should have been my standard. So we should have used 3,000 pounds, but you can see here where we actually used 3,200 pounds. So we used more than we thought. So this is our quantity variance. Now again, we're just going to take the difference between them. And the easy way to remember this is if the left one's lower, then that's good, because that means we paid less than we thought. But here, we paid more, or we used more material than we anticipated. So that's again going to be an unfavorable variance. Now to calculate our total variance, there's a couple different ways we can take it. We can take these two numbers here, which is 1,092 unfavorable. If they're the same, we can just add them. But let's say if this 192 was favorable, then we would take the 1,000 minus the 192, and then that would give us our unfavorable variance. Or you can look at the actual standard. So we know that my total variance is going to be 1,192. And again, unfavorable. That's the important part too, not just calculating the number, but being able to realize if it is favorable or unfavorable. Okay, so that's BE11-4. So again, if you have any questions, please let me know.